Hello, everybody. Uh, Back again. Um, the video I posted earlier this evening was from yesterday. This one's from today. The heat wave's still going on, so again, I apologize if I'm a bit shiny from the sweat. It's almost 3 in the morning and it's still like in the 70s, so it's going to be another hot day tomorrow, the rest of the week, and and the next week. But this video, I guess it's going to be a little bit more of a serious video in a way. Um, this past week, I was out at a local pub, and it was just a typical day. Unbeknownst to me, let me preface this video a little bit. I've been sort of on a one meal a day diet, the OMAD diet, or intermittent fasting, for probably about 2 years. Never had any problems with it. I've lost a lot of weight. If you go back and look at some of my older videos from the 2020 region, you'll see how much bigger my face was, and so on and so forth. I've lost about 50, probably 45, 50 pounds over the last 2 years. Again, with no issue, no problems. But I was out. So let's see. Today is Wednesday. Is it Wednesday morning? Thursday morning. Let me make sure. Yeah, Thursday, June 16th. So I was out on not this Tuesday, but the previous Tuesday, and like I said, it was just like a normal day, no issues. And yeah, I drink a little bit. I drink beer and I do have some mixed stuff. Here out in the garage while I'm podcasting. But the night before what I'll call the incident, um, I hadn't drank anything. It was just a normal night. Um, on that Monday night before the incident, I just watched some YouTube videos. I crashed out. I got up. I had an appointment with a client. I went and met with them and talked to them. And then after that was over, it was you know probably in the mid to late afternoon. So I headed up to my local pub. I had another business appointment there. I went to talk to a fellow about a website and some e-commerce stuff. Um, and again, everything normal. Um, as the evening went on, I had a couple beers, no more than I normally have on any given night, which I'm very careful about. Many, many, many moons ago, I had a DUI, and I'll admit that. Um, and ever since that time, I've been very careful about how much I drank, over what time period, the ABV, even going down to the ABV of the drink. So that particular night, I had like a Mick Ultra, which is very low alcohol, and then I had like one IPA, and then when the incident happened, I was about halfway through my third beer over about 2.5 hours. So I was, doing okay, but I got lightheaded, and I felt something coming. I knew something was happening, but I just held to. I tried to hold my consciousness as long as possible, but then at one point, finally, it was just like a light switch. I just turned off. Um, I remember, really nothing. Like I said, I knew it was coming, but I don't remember the actual going down part. So thankfully, the local establishment I go to has a number of medical personnel type people who come in there or who are there at any given time, especially earlier in the evenings, after they get off work, and they'll come in and have a few drinks, with their cohorts or whatever. Thankfully, I knew two people who were relatively well versed and taking care of somebody who went through the incident like I did. But basically, from what I've been told, I sort of seized up. Um, I went down, uh, and, yeah, and I'll get into specific details later, but I went down, um, and one of the first people, I mean, that I've heard about from the story recollected to me was believe it or not, my ex-girlfriend. She saw me going down and everything, and she jumped into action and got me down onto the ground. And then a flight nurse, who's a friend of mine, she was getting ready to leave the establishment, but somebody came inside and got her, and between them, they sort of, ran the scene. Another friend of mine, was there too, and I remember as I was coming to, I remember him being there as well. So, but according to them, I seized up, eyes rolled back, uh, you know, color was off, skin color, lips blue, whatever. And according to them, I wasn't breathing at one point, and of course, my blood pressure had probably dropped, dramatically. So, cause was, I think it was sort of a combination of my diet. Like I said, the one meal a day diet, which wasn't a very balanced diet. I wasn't getting a good balanced diet. I wasn't taking supplements of any kind over the past month or two or three. So when it, after the fact, when I got the blood work done, um, my potassium was very low. I was a bit dehydrated. When I got up that day, I didn't drink the normal amount of water that I normally would have. I didn't eat anything before I left the house and went to that client's office. So, and then the heat, with the temperature as high as it's been over the last week or two, that probably got to me. The sun, I was there early in the day and out under the beating sun. And so I think it was just like the perfect storm of factors, of variables, over with my lifestyle, my diet, and everything. It just all collided at the same time, and and that's what happened. And I mean, like I said, my ex-girlfriend, she was there. She was sitting over in another set of seats next to me, so she saw me starting to go down, and from what people told me, she jumped up quickly, physically got me down onto the ground, and turned me to my side, and you know, just in case, there was any vomiting or anything, but there wasn't. Um, and the flight nurse, she did feel a pulse, so she said, don't give him any compressions, chest compressions, but he's not breathing, so go ahead and give him some mouth to mouth, which was, sort of funny. And I know I'm saying a lot here, and people who know me might know who I'm talking about, but I don't care. I just want to tell my story, because it means it means a lot. So, but when I wasn't breathing, I remember the flight nurse saying, she's like, you're his ex-girlfriend. If he needs mouth to mouth, go ahead and give him some. You've already kissed him. So she went ahead and gave me a couple, and my breathing kicked right back in. There was no issue. Um, it was probably just a lack of breathing just from the incident itself and everything. I want to say I would have started breathing again on my own regardless, but I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. So I'm glad she was there. I'm glad there was two people, three people, including the guy friend of mine who, as I was coming to, I remember him coming up to support my back and everything as I was starting to sit up. And then I found out, the ambulance had already been called. I was out, I think they said I was out for about 2.5 minutes or whatever. So, but the ambulance had already been called, and I sort of remember saying like, "Dang nabbit, guys! Like, I didn't need this. I'm fine." But I sort of, in a way, I embraced the situation. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a heart related thing. It wasn't like a heart attack or anything along those lines. So I went ahead and waited for the ambulance to get there, and they came in, to the back. I was out on the patio, the back patio, so they came in and did their thing, their typical stuff, and so and it was just all so surreal. I mean, I hadn't been in an emergency situation where an ambulance was called since I was 19 years old, and I'm like 40, 46, so like 27 years I have not been in an emergency situation. So since then, and that was a car accident back in 1995. It was almost like 27 years to the day because my accident in 1995 was on June the 3rd. This happened on what is it? I guess it's probably right around that time, shortly after that's the 7th, 8th, whatever. So it was a very, like I said, I always try to cling to my consciousness. And even in that 1995 car accident, I flipped, down a hill in a car. It was a hit and run. My car, somebody hit me and the car swerved and I rolled down the hill through a guardrail. It came through the car and thankfully, in that case, I did not have my seatbelt on. And because I was tumbling around in the car, the guardrail that came through the car missed me, except for my right leg, my femur, my right femur. The door got knocked in, and the door crushed my right femur. But I was conscious pretty much the entire time, even though it was like again that was a hot day too. I remember being like up in the mid 90s, and I'm laying upside down in a car on the side of the road, but I was conscious the whole time. So this incident, the one I'm talking about now, like I said, it was disconcerting that I had lost consciousness in front of everybody and was out for that period. It was just like I said, a light switch just going off, and I came to. And at first, I sort of thought, like, where am I? Am I in heaven? Is this like I do, when I was out, there was nothing. I'm not going to call it a near death experience. I'm not going to say it was like a tunnel of light and all that stuff. It was just nothing, nothingness. And I'm not trying to say that's what people would experience. I was still alive, even though I wasn't breathing at that point. Um, I still had a pulse. My body was still functioning. So perhaps if it would have gone a little bit longer and I didn't start breathing and my pressure, my pulse would have dropped to nothing, maybe I would have had that NDE, near death experience, you know, the tunnel of light and everything. So yeah, but like I said, I came to pretty quickly actually, and like I said, I sort of like, where am I? Everything was bright. I remember the flight nurse friend of mine who I know pretty well. I remember her looking down at me, starting to ask me questions, trying to get me re-engaged and back into consciousness. And then I sort of looked over to my left, and my ex-girlfriend, like I said, that gave me the mouth to mouth or whatever. Um, she was there, but you know, I'm just like, what's going on? Then No, and I'm going to be completely candid here, but I knew I wasn't in a better place, quote unquote, like in heaven, because when you see stuff and stuff, you piss yourself. I pissed myself, so I knew if I was in heaven, I wouldn't have pissed myself. But they brought me back. They got me back to normal functioning, and the ambulance showed up, and I was able to actually stand up, and walk to the ambulance. Um, and then they loaded me up, and of course they hooked me up to everything, and the ambulance before they drove off, and then the hospital. I was in downtown Somerset. The hospital was only minutes away, so they didn't rush because I was responsive. But they took some blood and everything, and and that's how I found out my potassium levels were low later. Um, and they did put me on an IV, so it was probably just a multi, probably a saline drip or something. I don't know. It might have had some potassium in it, but I know I came back around relatively quickly. I mean, I was tired anyway because I'd had a long day, but I had to sit in the emergency room, and they said it was a pretty busy night at the emergency room. So, and because I was so responsive and so coherent, I was on the bottom of the list. So I sat there for probably an hour, hour and a half waiting to get a room. And then my ex-girlfriend, she showed up at the hospital and she was there for me until, I got checked out later that night, probably right around midnight or so. And just to be the hardcore person I am, I went back to the bar that this all happened at, to the pub, the bar, the tap, whatever, just to let everybody who was still there, who was there when this happened, just to let them know I was okay and I wasn't dead. I remember walking in. The rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. So I talked to everybody, and there was a couple of new people there who had heard about it through the evening and who had texted me while I was at the hospital. So, and I appreciate all those who couldn't make it to the hospital, but texted me and was supportive. So um, it's getting to be a bit of a long video, but that was my instant. I guess the takeaway is just there's as you get older, there's going to be incidents like this that are going to be like wake up calls. And like I said, this was the first time anything like this has happened for me personally in 27 years. So it was a big wake up call. um, and I've been sort of seeing things a bit differently, a little bit more clearly, actually. You know, certain worries or stresses that were present in my life before this incident are slowly sort of fading away. Trying to get a bit more focused on life, and yeah. So just you know, I guess and another takeaway is I guess everybody you meet in life, even if at the time when you meet them or whatever, they don't seem to be super important, or even like I said, my ex-girlfriend, even if they were super important to you at some point in life, you met them for a reason. Everybody you meet, everybody who's a part of your life was there for a reason. If they wouldn't have been there, I might have just laid on the ground or fallen over and hurt myself even worse, banged my head, gotten neurological damage. Um, Even if there was somebody who was slightly familiar, but not like an EMT or a flight nurse that was there, they might have got me down. They might have done chest compressions. They might have broke my sternum or damaged my heart because I did not need compressions. I just needed a couple breaths to bring me back. There's so many variables. So in my case, I was extraordinarily lucky that the right people were there at the right time, and everything turned out okay. So up to about 20 minutes, but just, embrace everybody in your life. And I've had a couple friends who have passed away far too young, one in her mid 50s and one probably in her late 30s in the past 3 weeks. So don't hesitate to don't hesitate to reach out and, you know, connect with people who you haven't seen in a while, because you just never know. You never know what life brings or what's going to happen. So it's about it. Just thought I would tell that story. Everybody have a good night. Sorry to be so serious. Everybody have a good night and peace out. Night night.